Welcome to Loughran Brewing Stores' new podcast, Brew Craic. We will be bringing you industry news and fun, engaging conversations with people from across the brewing industry. Okay, so welcome to Loughran Brewing Stores' new podcast, Brew Craic. In case you didn't know, Craic is Gaeilge, and it means news, gossip, entertainment, and just generally good conversation. So I'd like to welcome you all. I'm going to introduce you to James and Will. They're going to tell you a little bit about themselves, and we're just going to talk about Loughran Brewing Stores in general. So over to you guys.
Thanks, Joan. Yeah, there was a couple of things that we just wanted to chat about and just kind of give a little bit of an insight into what we do here, so that our customers and our friends, the steps and some of the effort that goes into trying to get the best ingredients we can into brewers' hands. So, you know, Will looks after most of the customer facing stuff and a lot of the procurement. I tend to be a little bit more responsible for the overseeing the kind of production and administrative side of things. And we kind of split the roles along that way. So kind of Will looks after the commercial side of stuff, and I do most stuff fairly well over the last year and a half, a little bit more since Will's been with us, and it's been a pretty busy year and a half. We've covered a lot of ground since Will joined in August of 2018. We've gone through fairly significant expansion of our physical infrastructure, fairly significant expansion in terms of our sales, both domestically and also significant expansion in our export sales. We've also took on a lot of new brands and grown our product portfolio, and it's been pretty exciting over the last year and a half. It's been a lot of fun, and I think the next year and a half or 2 years hopefully will be the same once this corona fun dies down a little bit, or some semblance of normality returns, which hopefully won't be too far away. So yeah, those are kind of where I see things at the minute.
Yeah, it's probably important for us to say that we're a small team, but there's a few other guys that probably aren't at the forefront, or you wouldn't recognise their faces. We're going to hopefully get them on and have a bit of a chat down the line. But for the moment, you probably are more familiar with James and Will.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's just because, you know, maybe it's me or Will that tends to be a little bit more forward facing. Like there's a significant team of people behind us who actually do the work, you know, and actually deliver upon the promises that we make. And me and Will just talk to people and promise to do things, and it's everybody else who actually goes and does it. We're just talkers.
There are a lot of times where I think I accidentally say something to a customer and then have to figure out how our champions back in the office and the warehouse are going to make the crazy thing I said actually work. But yeah, we're pretty lucky, and that most of the time I can say crazy things that I think a lot of providers in our sector maybe couldn't deliver on. That since we're such a small team, be crazy. One thing that's interesting that James brought up there, and kind of how mine and his roles differ. I mean, you guys we've already posted a video of me talking way too much, so I won't go into a whole lot of that. But basically, I think how you can break my job versus his job down is I get to do the fun things, like drink beer with our suppliers and drink beer with our customers, and he gets to sit in the office and walk around the farm and do spreadsheets and have, as we say in Ireland, have shit crack. I get to have good crack, he gets to have shit crack. And occasionally I will request that he come along for the good crack. And then occasionally he sends me a spreadsheet that brings me the shit crack.
Yep. That's pretty much the division of labor in our relationship. I nearly said marriage there.
A few other things we wanted to cover, I suppose, are our core values, and then just the current circumstances, how we're working in this environment, and then plans for the future. So
So before we get into that, I want to know what James is drinking at around 5 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. What's in your can there? Little Fawn, yeah. Nice. And I've got Brian at Northern Monk was kind enough to send me straight off of Canning this new banger right here from their Patrons Project with these absolutely rad labels that pull out and has all kinds of cool information.
They are gorgeous.
The coolest label in the industry, I believe. But this is Dreamline Forms, and it's a double dry hopped IPA, and it has absolutely as much strata and citra as I think you can put in a beer. So this is absolutely stunning stuff.
Speaking of strata, my follow-up after Little Fawn, I thought it was a little bit early for it, but I'll be moving on to Rec. I don't think you can really start pounding at 6.3% or 5 o'clock. It's just no. So I'll start with a white hag special, and then inspection for me, and then kind of move through the range after. You spoke about core values.
Yeah. Drinking beer.
Yeah. Sorry?
Drinking beer is definitely one.
Yeah, good beer. Mostly. We just really want to see the craft beer movement in Ireland and around the world move on and put great beer in people's hands. Like, I remember growing up, when I started drinking first, my choices were Budweiser, Heineken, Carlsberg, and Guinness. And when you're young, in your early 20s, late teens, early 20s, and you're going out, like, you don't really have, very often you don't have the patience to let a pint of Guinness settle, so, that kind of puts that out. That leaves you with your choice of 3 lagers, and I just really dislike lager. It's just a personal thing. It doesn't sit well with me, and I went through a huge track of my early adult life where I didn't have any beer to drink. When I became introduced to craft beer and to that range of beer that was out there, I got very excited by it, and I think as most people get into craft beer do, and you start telling your friends, you gotta try this, and you gotta try that, and what about this, and what about that. Yeah. Pretty soon you realise your friends think you're a bit of a weird. I got quite excited about that here and being able to get involved in the trade and in the community and get people, help brewers any way we can to make beer, especially good beer. So a lot of the ingredients that we bring to brewers, it's about that. It's about helping them make the beer. Bring you guys, or bring brewers, better ingredients with better service and better support. Hopefully you can make better beer. If you can make better beer, maybe more people will drink it. And if more people drink it, the pie gets a little bit bigger, everybody gets involved, everybody becomes aware of what good beer is, or what we consider good beer to be. And that's the kind of mission, that's the goal, to grow, help grow the overall craft pie, so that there's just more choice, better choice for people who want to experience something more than the narrow range that certainly I had growing up in Ireland. That's kind of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think there's also related to that, or maybe kind of running parallel to that, is it's very important to us, the suppliers that we choose to work with, in that there are any number of makers or processors of malted barley. There are any number of producers of hops that we could work with. And I think whenever you're looking at what we're trying to do is to connect the world's best to to the best brewers in both the UK and Europe. And a lot of that is finding the companies whose values line up with ours, be it a focus on sustainable farming, be it a focus on innovation, be it a focus on customer service, and actually reaching out to suppliers who identify with us. And if we can look at bridging that gap from the farm to the glass, then I think we're, at the end of the day, we're doing our job.
Yeah, it's about providing those kind of supports and resources. And I suppose you asked about values, which wasn't something that I think myself or Will have really addressed yet. But
there, you just probably haven't.
Yeah, it's bulletproof. And it's something that we, certainly the three of us have talked about quite a bit. And myself and Will have chatted about a lot. And like any company which says, these are our values, and that's a very difficult statement to be accurate on, because first of all, they evolve over time, slowly, but they certainly evolve, and you need to be very specific with your language to accurately capture what exactly your values are. So that's why myself and Will and you, Joan, we talk about them a lot, because asking what are our values kind of, it breathes a little life into them, and the answers are not always the same. The answers are, it kind of riff off the last answers, and that's why we didn't go out and write down like, these are 6 values and put 6 sentences in paper, because I think once you do that, you stop asking the question, and you stop refining it, and you just say, well, these are our 6 values, it's done. That's a job crossed off the list.
Yeah.
So I specifically don't want to do that, because I think you got to constantly come back to your values, and do your behaviors line up with your values? And if they do, that's great. And if it doesn't, well, one of them has evolved and changed, well, which is, and you need to bring the two back into line. So it's a funny question, because you said, like, what are our values? We don't have it written down. We can talk about it for the next couple of minutes, and we will, but it's not like there's 4 or 5 sentences that it's this, and this.
Yeah.
Because
don't want that either. Yeah.
We don't want that. We want that. We don't want that. What we want instead is we want the flexibility and the ability to evolve and review those values and challenge those values and challenge the behaviours that surround those values, and not for it to be something that's just 6 items on a list, ticked off, put in a box, don't come back and look at it again. Because your values are your culture, and your values are what your company is. If your team is aligned around their values, more or less, if your team knows kind of what something should look like, it means that when me or Will or any of us can take a month off, and we know what people will do in our absence, because people know what good behaviour should be. That's why I don't want those kind of 6 sentences hammered into stone. But we do have a pretty good idea all the same. We can chat about it, but it's mostly around concepts like relationships, sustainability, and looking after people. Really, it's really a case of looking after people and sustainability, and we have a few things around that kind of flesh out. One there about values, and kind of we went around it and didn't go into a whole pile of detail, and I don't want to talk about it for like 20 minutes, but at the same time, if people want to know what we're about, I think we just want to give a couple more moments to it.
Yeah.
So what we said, it was about kind of relationships and people and sustainability, and ultimately that's it. Like one of the things we wrote down, and we kept it simple and keep it in front of the door or near the door where people can see us. It's quite simple, just be nice. And that kind of frames a lot of our behaviours and what we try and do. Like, we just simply be nice to people. Don't piss anyone off. That's a simple rule. And it works. You just stand out there, be a good friend, be a good employee, be a good employer, be a good supplier, be a good customer, be nice. And we found that to be a really simple concept that allows us a lot of latitude, but also helps us be accountable to how we want to behave. And then the other one is like thing like pay and get paid. We always try and pay our suppliers on time. We want to be a good partner for our suppliers. We don't always try, we always do pay our suppliers on time. And that drives a lot of our internal processes, because in order to pay them, we have to have certain things in place. And we also ask that, in order to do that, we also need to have the cash there. So we have to make sure that our customers are willing to pay us and able to pay us, which would be the best way to do that is make sure we deliver what they want, when they want, at the time they want it. So that drives a lot of the quality processes. Let's not give our customers a reason not to pay us. Let's make sure we do everything right so that they're able to pay. They're willing to pay us if they're able. And then much of the rest of it, so that's kind of the relationship aspect of stuff, and then a lot of the rest of it is around about sustainability, and that's both environmental and economic. Our intention is to be here for a very long time, and not to just disappear in 2 or 3 or 5 years time, but to build a business that's sustainable over the longer term, environmentally and economically. So the environmental side of it kind of goes back into the family farm and some of the steps we take to improve that over the longer term, and that's kind of where we separate out Loughran Brewing Stores from Loughran Family Malt. And then, the economic sustainability means that the margins and profits that we're able to make, we reinvest them into our business, be it into the farm and into the into the environmental side of it, or into the economic side of it, whereby we try and invest into new products and services or new plant and equipment to make our service more cost effective.
At the same time, a lot of those reinvestments go back into infrastructure, which improves our customers' experience. Whether it be a larger, more efficient, colder cold store, or be it new grain silos and bagging lines that allow our customers to be processed faster, therefore allowing us to be able to respond to their needs quicker than we would have before.
Yeah. The next point was, I know these are just broad things we can discuss, so it's just how we're all getting on with working in the current circumstances. We haven't really talked about it online before, but we obviously have different systems in place. Will's working from home, I'm part working from home, so yeah, just really talk about that and how it's affected business.
It's been weird. It's been strange. Like we lockdown happened 17th, 18th March, or
yeah,
I always think it was St. Patrick's Week.
Yeah. It's Friday
we
the 13th, I think it was.
We did nothing well, right? Like that last week in March was just...
There was 2 weeks where like literally every day James is calling me and trying to ask me to do stuff that I didn't really want to do, like things like call up bakers and see if they want to buy some malt, and
did that 3 times. Didn't do it every day. Did it 3 times over a month. I still think it's an underserved market.
You're probably right. But yeah, there was about 2 to 2.5 weeks where we were certainly feeling the pain that I think a lot of our customers were feeling, and it was scary. But there's an old adage that goes, there are 2 things that are recession proof, and that's booze and video games, which I think it's definitely coming home to roost right now. I guarantee you the sales of video game consoles and the sales of craft beer as a percentage of market share have gone up over the past 2 months. And I think we've seen our customers, and not just our customers, but the craft beer in general, prove itself to be extraordinarily resilient. And able to change their business model in order to survive. And that's, I mean, honestly, that's inspiring to see a brewery that was 60% keg sales and 40% can sales or bottle sales all of a sudden figure out how to completely change their production to turn everything to 100% cans or 100% bottles and sell almost the same volume of beer. And it happened pretty quickly. And I'm just sitting back every day impressed that both our customers and consumers are making the commitment to craft beer that we're seeing.
Yeah, like we had those, like you said, 2 weeks when it was a case of, do we pivot, can we pivot, what options are there, what do we do? And then around about the time that the COVID-19 government wage subsidy was put in place, that kind of seemed to put a floor underneath everything. It's people start panicking around then. Like a lot of people seem to think, okay, it'll be okay. And we found that we saw an uptick in business not long after that, and which would have been very end of March, I think. And then April was okay, like, and then May's been busy. In terms of steps we've taken, there's obviously the social distancing aspect of it, where as many people as possible are working from home, working off site. The guys in production in the warehouse are we separate them out, take their breaks at a staggered time. They work minimum 2 meters apart. We're putting in some additional infrastructure to try and reduce the amount of manual handling that's involved. There's a couple other steps we're taking to make sure the place is clean, it's tidy, it's sanitized all the time. Door handles, everything else wiped down. So, in a lot of ways, day-to-day activity hasn't changed. There's a little bit less on the production floor, but the guys are still reasonably busy. We've been fortunate enough that we've been able to maintain pretty much all the job numbers, which is great, because having to let people go under these circumstances would have been horrible. And yeah, those are kind of the main steps we've taken. We've been able to avail of some of the government supports, some of the funding things to try and help with steady the ship, and we're in a pretty good shape. All of our we reached out. I think we've spoken to every customer on the debtor list at this stage on our books, and certainly I personally spoken to most of the larger ones. I know Will's spoken to pretty much all of them, and a lot of them are in pretty good shape if we're patient, and we're willing to be patient, so that's great. Our suppliers have been very understanding as well, and have helped us enormously, and have been very understanding of the challenging position that the entire industry is in, and going through inventory and what customers' needs are for the rest of the year, and what stock we have on hand or on our books to service those needs, and where the mismatch lies, and then what do we do to balance all that through next year as harvest 2020 starts coming around pretty soon. So, barley harvest will be starting here in roughly 10 weeks, and hop harvest will be starting 12 weeks in the Pacific Northwest. So we've got a fair chunk of work to do between now and then to talk to brewers, have a chat to them about what their plans are for the next 12 months, and try and balance some of those projections against some of the harvest requirements to make sure that we have the right product in the right place at the right time to manage those needs as they come through.
At the same time, trying to trying to analyze the conversations we're having with brewers and make our own projections and our own predictions, because a lot of brewers don't know what the next 2 months hold versus rather the next 10 months. So really trying to work closely with them and especially our larger customers to really be in constant communication to figure it out together. Because without their projections, we can't buy appropriately. And just really trying to nail it down as tight as we can.
Yeah, but I think that one of the things that's both surprised and impressed me the most has been, just the resourcefulness of our customers, of brewers, like the lengths that they have gone to sell beer, and the innovation and the steps they've taken to figure out ways to get their beer to the customers' hands. It's absolutely true what the old, we were talking about old adages, the old adage of necessity is the mother of all invention. It's absolutely true. Like, those guys, their back was to the wall. They had to find a way of selling beer. They found ways of selling beer, and I think that the online channels that craft has developed over the last couple of months are going to be surprisingly robust. I think those channels will stay with us into the future. I think that people have figured out how to and embraced how to buy beer, craft beer online. And I don't see that stopping. I think now that people know how to do it, people will carry on doing it. And I think our industry is going to get a bump. I think I hope what will happen, and I think what will happen is people, when this blows over, people will carry on buying the amount of beer they're buying online, craft beer they're buying, and they will buy craft beer in the pubs. So I think that's a significant positive that's going to come out of this. We as an industry, but all at the brewers' hands, have found a way of getting beer into customers' hands that was underexploited before. But now people are buying craft beer, buying great craft beer online in the future, even after COVID's gone. And not only will they continue to buy craft beer online, they will buy it again in the pubs as soon as they open, as soon as they're available. So hopefully that will be a significant, very significant positive that comes out of this train wreck of a situation.
Yeah,
and one thing I've had to reassess what how I approach my job and what I do and how I interact with our customers, and it's the way I've come to feel about it is I've moved. It feels like I'm less of a sales guy and more of a counselor or therapist these days, maybe. And that, like, I'm not driving around the country or jumping on an airplane to make sales calls and talk shit and have fights with people. I'm calling people up and, like, listening to their problems and seeing where they're having issues or where they're having success, and actually just be a person that's there to listen rather than talk. And it's been professionally, it's been very rewarding for me to figure out how to make that transition. And I mean, at the end of the day, it is part of our values to always be there for our customers, and to redefine my job to be there for our customers for what they need now, not for what they needed 6 months ago.
Yeah. So, want to chat about anything that's upcoming?
Yeah. I always like
a project.
I like talking about the new projects we've got coming up. So one of the things that I am currently most excited about is a new relationship we're building with a New Zealand hop farm.
Okay.
Our new friends at Freestyle Hops on the South Island of New Zealand. We're hopefully going to be loading a reefer of hops from those cats in the next month, I would say. Get it on the water. head around South Africa and come up to us to get some New Zealand juicy hops up in the UK and Europe. Other things that we're working on, we're always looking for collab opportunities. I think it's it's an often overlooked portion of the brewing industry, the importance that either the farm they grew the product or the supplier that provided the product. It's overlooked the importance of that bit of the supply chain. And collabs are usually brewer A, brewer B getting together to have some pints and brew a beer together and have some fun. Not like, I think we should be involved in that fun.
Yeah.
So one collab we've got coming up that I think we'll talk about in a few weeks. We've got a collab with Track Brewing in Manchester. Some of the best juicy, hazy, pale, hoppy numbers in the UK right now. And Crosby Hops is included on that collab. That's pretty exciting. Then we've got a repeat of a collab that we did last year with our good friends White Hag for what has traditionally been their summer international beer festival. The beer is called Hopstravaganza, and once again we're teaming up with James is bringing in the Reckoner. Once again, we're teaming up with our friends at Crosby Hops on that because they provide the biggest, raddest hops on the market. So we're teaming up with those guys again because they're our besties. They make great beers. So that should be coming out. Sure, at some point in time, we'll jump on a call or a podcast with the boyos at White Hag to talk about that cracker.
This is their invitation.
Talk about that what?
Talk about that cracker. It's a cracker.
Okay.
Never mind. I'll edit that. Let's go back.
It's all
Edit
right.
some stuff out here.
Don't shady.
So yeah, we're gonna talk. I'm sure sometime we'll talk with our friends Joe and Bob and Paul and those guys at the White.
I do think it's funny how you asked about what's coming up, Joan. Will is straight away off, and we're doing new collabs, and we're going to do this, and we're going to have fun, it's going to be great. In my head, we're getting a new robot for the warehouse, and we're getting a forklift for the warehouse. It's going to be great, it's going to be so exciting. And I think that speaks a lot about how our roles actually are. It's
For me, it's a podcast really and merch.
Yes,
and well, it is very interesting how I think all three of our relationships work, in that, like, I think any one of the three of us runs into a problem and we call the other person up and you just start talking about the problem, and all of a sudden, like, within 5 minutes, like, we've come up with at least 5 different solutions to the problem we came into the conversation with. Yeah, that's a pretty valuable little thing that we all have going.
So that's enough from us for now, and we will chat soon.
Hi, everybody.
thank you.
Thanks for joining us for our first episode of Brew Craic, brought to you by Loughran Brewing Stores. If you'll keep tuning into these, we'll be bringing you interviews with some of the best hop suppliers, some of the best maltsters, and some of the best brewers from across the world. And while you're at it, log on, follow our Instagram, follow our Facebook, and follow our Twitter to get the latest updates on what we're up to and what our suppliers are up to and what our customers are up to. Cheers.